I'm excited to kind of jump into your story and see what you've been up to.
I wanted to be a fighter pilot.
Fighting fires, being a policeman.
And then just kind of went to school, went into marketing because it sounded fun. It seemed like all the cute girls were in the marketing classes anyways.
What exactly does a promotional products company entail? What are you guys doing?
I'm a company. I want to put my logo on some bags, mugs, pens, whatever.
Isn't it the harder you work, the luckier you get?
I like that. Exactly.
Hi, and welcome to the Reiterate Show. Thanks for giving us a watch or a listen from wherever you are in the world. Our goal with this show is to introduce you to people who have gone through setbacks in their lives while they pursue happiness and fulfillment. Through these interviews and these conversations, hopefully you'll see that we are all capable of bouncing back and achieving greatness. Enjoy the conversation. Hey everyone, and thanks for being here today and giving a listen. I had a really great conversation with today's guest, Jonny Darrohn, who was able to successfully navigate and purchase the family business from his dad. Now, if you've ever worked in a family business, you know that can be a sticky situation, and I bet you'll be able to empathize with some of the things that Jonny went through. But over the last 5 or 6 years as the company's CEO, he has been able to grow that company and take it to the next level. Enjoy the conversation. All right, Jonny Darrohn, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You and I have known each other for a long, long time now, probably about 20 years. And I'm excited to kind of jump into your story and see what you've been up to. So thank you very much for being here.
Oh, happy to be here. It's good to see you again and happy to talk about whatever people want to hear about. So,
John, take us back. What was your career path? What were you hoping to be growing up through high school, through college? What was your plan?
So when I was a kid, I used to go get a haircut at a barber shop, and he used to ask me, "Oh, what kind of haircut do you want?" And it was either a fireman haircut or a police haircut, which I didn't realize till about 3 or 4 years later was the exact same haircut. But kind of when I was a kid, that's what people asked, what I wanted to do. And that was probably the stock answer of, something exciting, fireman, policeman, whatever. And then actually, as I got kind of closer into college and everything else, I thought I kind of wanted, just when Top Gun came out, or maybe when I saw it, but I wanted to be a fighter pilot. And I started looking into that. I thought being a pilot would be a fun career as well. And thought I had a good build. I'm not super tall. I'm 5'10", so I thought I'd be a good pilot. And as I looked into it, just how competitive it was, and I wanted to be the fighter pilot, and most likely I'd be stuck flying a cargo plane to Afghanistan. And so just never went through with it, but that was probably the career path I was maybe close enough to doing at one time.
Yeah.
And then just kind of went to school and at the University of Utah. I was living in Salt Lake, went into marketing because it sounded fun. It was better than accounting, or, I didn't really have any direction I wanted to go. And it seemed like all the cute girls were in the marketing classes anyway. So did my marketing degree at the University of Utah. And my father had started a company, kind of marketing related with promotional items, embroidery and that, and kind of worked in that, and still there today. And so I never even knew what a, promotional product salesman or whatever was when I was a kid, or probably even up until college, but it was there and it was great for college at the time. And so it's kind of what I did and got where I was at.
So growing up, you wanted to do something that sounds like you described it as exciting, something outside, fighting fires, being a policeman, the normal, probably little boy type of thing. And you ended up, it would appear as though you ended up behind a desk sitting in a comfy chair, huh?
Yeah, I think that's about the path most of us usually take. For whatever reason, once you start getting married and kids and what things cost and everything else, sometimes you kind of think your priorities and other priorities as far as free time and flexibility and things like that. So, yeah, it's funny how we end up where we do, when I think we all want to be out doing something fun and exciting, but here we are.
But I know that you can still get outside. You're a big golfer. You're a big outdoors type of guy, so you're fitting it in, right?
Oh, yeah. I think one of the reasons I stuck with it was because of the flexibility, because I do, I'd love to come in and work hard till 3 o'clock and then go play 9 holes before I have to go home and put kids to bed and do homework, or, be able to take a Friday off to go on a fishing or hunting trip or something like that. So the flexibility to kind of do all those other hobbies, because my wife always complains that I do have too many hobbies. So it is nice to have that flexibility and time to go do that. So it's definitely a bonus as far as in the pro section of when you're evaluating your priorities in life and how you want to live your life and things you want to do. I think that was a big part for me, is kind of having a job that gives me some flexibility to do what we want to do.
So were there other options on the table for a job that gave you that flexibility?
I honestly don't know. I've had 2 jobs in my life. I worked at a golf course all through high school. So my dad said, I told him I wanted to golf, and he said, great, it's expensive. So you either need to go get a job at the golf course so you can golf for free, or find a job that pays enough so you can go pay for your rounds. And so I chose the golf course route, and it was awesome. Wish I still worked there today. And then, going through college, I work where I'm at now, kind of part-time. So those really are the other 2. And there might have been some other opportunities here or there, but, nothing that sticks out to me like, wow, if I would have had, taken this opportunity that was presented to me or gone this direction, it'd be totally different. I guess I didn't really know what to do, and kind of got chosen for me a little bit, and it's been good. Sometimes life's just crazy how you get where you get.
You mentioned that your dad had a promotional products company. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means. What exactly does a promotional products company entail? What are you guys doing?
So my dad was VP of a large regional bank forever, as far as I could remember. And then in junior high, they went through some mergers, and they offered a kind of an early retirement to him. And so he took it, and he didn't really know what to do, so he brought an embroidery machine. So a machine you can plug a design or logo into, and it'll sew it out on whatever you can get on the machine. And he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know, just kind of one of those weird random things where you're like, it's not like my dad grew up and he used to love to sew, and so now he's getting into his passion, It's just,
yeah.
He thought it looked fun and interesting, so he did it. And that kind of evolved into, promotional products, which are, hey, I'm a company, I want to put my logo on some bags, mugs, pens, whatever, give them to people to kind of promote my company. And so that's kind of what the company does, is just anything logo related, apparel, hard goods, put your logo on it, design it, get it out to people, and that's what we do. And so that's just what he fell into. And I don't think I've asked him why he chose that, and he can't ever give me a good answer, doesn't know. So
this is kind of an interesting thing. It's probably semi-common that somebody's parents have a family business. Here in the States, there's millions and millions of small businesses. And so millions and millions of people are probably hiring their kids to work in the business, but it's not every day that one of those kids wants to be in the family business so badly that they decide to take the business over and run it as the owner, the CEO, the president. So what was that like for you working in the company? And then what was the process where you started to think, hey, maybe I could run this company. Maybe I could take it over from my dad.
Like I said, when I started, I was going to college, so I had classes, everything else I was juggling. I was still young enough where internet, email, everything else was, common use and practice. And so a lot of that I could do during school, or, email, cell phone, take care of what we needed to. Didn't have to necessarily physically be at the office. So at that time, I needed, a few $100 for rent, some beer and pizza money, take a girl out on a date once in a while. Besides that, I didn't really have too many aspirations or needs for extra money, right? So it was just a fun job. I liked doing it. It was flexible. Me and my dad, fortunately, have really always got along and worked really well together. So I didn't have any red flags as far as I can barely stand my dad at family dinner. How am I going to stand him at the office? So I didn't see a whole lot of red flags, and it just kind of made sense for me at the time. And then I think it was my senior year, I got married and started realizing what an actual, you're paying the whole mortgage, rent costs, insurance, cars, everything we need. And so I had to just kind of keep working harder. So I just worked harder at what I was doing. And then after a few years, I built up a decent little book of business, and I actually really enjoyed what I was doing. And so I just kept doing it. Never really had any motivation to look elsewhere because it was satisfying my monetary needs. I think my, emotional and drive needs as far as it was challenging, and I liked what I did, and gave me that flexibility to do all the hobbies that my wife says I have too many of. And that just kind of kept evolving. The wife kept spending more money, so I had to work harder to make more money, and it's just a never-ending cycle. So here we're at. As far as how I got started, that was kind of the story that led into it. And then, just like anything, there becomes a time when you're dealing with large sums of money or responsibilities or ownership and things like that, and you start to think, okay, well, I have worked here a while. I do know a lot. I have contributed a lot. And, what do I want to do for the next 10, 15, 20 years? And what do I want to start, building for my children? And so, that there kind of came that time where I said, hey, I really enjoy what I do, and I don't necessarily want to work for someone my whole life. It was okay working with my father, but there came that time where I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And, coincidentally enough, my dad, wasn't as vocal about it, but he had the same concerns too, right? He just started on a whim. He didn't know what he wanted to do. He didn't have a roadmap. He wanted to build something and sell it and then retire. He just kind of did it because he liked it and he got along with people and he was a good salesman. So it was a little bit of a tricky situation, I think, because we kind of had two different people arriving at this company with no real direction on where we want to end up, other than we just like doing what we were doing, at that time.
So John, over the last 10 years, to me, it sounds like you really put your head down and you went to work. Coming out of college, you got married, so you had to support yourself and your wife, and possibly some kids came along at some point. And to me, as I listen to your story, the thing that stands out is it sounds like you put your head down, you went to work, and you didn't really worry about, is this the best opportunity for me? Is there something else out there? Is the grass greener on the other side of the hill? It sounds like you had an enjoyable work life. The people you worked with, your dad and the others, were enjoyable. And so 10 years may have gone by and you picked your head up and here you are. So would you say that you agree with that? Do you think that you attribute what you've been able to accomplish to this working hard, this work ethic?
Well, yeah, I think the biggest difference, between people and why so few percentage are successful and others aren't is there are some people that will just put their head down and work and no excuses. And those are the people that win because they have something they want to do or some standards they want to achieve, and they just work and they don't make excuses. And the ones that do get sidetracked and go somewhere else. But even when I, like I said, when I arrived to where I was at, you couldn't probably even explain what my business was when I was a kid for me to want to get there, right? But I did know a lot of key things that I did want in my life. And I always felt like if I was achieving those things in the direction I was going, that things would work out. so I wanted a certain, type of life and family and home that I lived in and freedom and this and that. And besides that, there wasn't a whole lot outside it. So as long as I kept working and these other aspects of my life that I wanted to be there kept falling into place and going how I would kind of hoped when I started working, I just kind of kept working in that direction. Kind of you end up, sometimes you look back to how did I get here, right? Or how did this fall into place? Or how did I get so lucky there? But I really feel like the people that just put their head down, have some type of focus and work hard, end up getting the good breaks, end up getting good opportunities, end up with all these other things that those others miss out on. And so I think it's a great key for people to learn.
Isn't it the harder you work, the luckier you get?
I like that. Exactly. You don't get many opportunities to meet people and everything else sitting home on your couch, right? It's the people that are out and about, and the friendships and everything else you make that get the majority of those opportunities.
Another interesting thing about your story that I'm hearing about both you and maybe more so your dad is that I think oftentimes we get hung up on analyzing our situation or writing the perfect business plan, waiting till we are established some dollar amount or maybe in a family life, waiting for some certain place in the marriage to have kids. Sometimes I wonder if, like your dad, he was interested in the embroidery machine. It wasn't his passion, but he was intrigued. And this is actually something that I'm hearing often throughout these interviews on this show that we do is this curiosity is a big piece to why people are able to push themselves through maybe some roadblocks or some setbacks, is they stay curious. So your dad was curious about an embroidery machine, and now 15 years later, 20 years later, he's got this big business. It's big enough to support he employs many people and they support their families, and you are coming up and have taken it over. So, the hard work aspect, the curiosity aspect, these are attributes that I'm hearing about you and your dad that lead me to believe that they are markers of success. Does anything else come to mind when you think back at why you and your dad are having success with your entrepreneurial ventures?
That's an interesting question. And when you say curious, that describes a lot of me and my father. There used to be a running joke at our office because my dad, everyone knew, he was never diagnosed or anything, but he just had ADD, and I don't remember which Disney movie or whatever, but he gets distracted anytime he sees a squirrel. He yells squirrel and points at it. And we'd be in meetings all the time. He'd just be going everywhere, and people would be, squirrel, squirrel. Because he's just curious about everything and all these different ideas. And I'm the same way, is that I will see something that will kind of intrigue me, and now I'm Googling and finding all about it and reading the history and how to, and then it almost becomes a little bit of an obsession. And that's where I think someone that's curious and works hard at something could be a great entrepreneur, a great business leader, because they can see something and be curious enough about it. Well, why does that work well? Or how could that work better? And put some hard work to develop, in a business, you have so many different parts and gears and everything else. And a lot of times you just have to go and figure something out, let it run and move on. And so those people that are curious and not afraid to not know something and go learn about it and figure it out, you can combine those two, and I think you could do just about anything. When you can dream or think of anything and then you have the hard work to go figure it out, you name the challenge, you name the business plan, those are the types of people that are going to go do it.
Have you ever heard or read the book by, I think, Michael Gerber called The E-Myth Revisited?
I haven't. My father read it, and he's probably told me to read it I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
So I'm always getting bits and pieces of it, but I haven't read it.
So in this book, it describes the different personalities necessary to run a business. You've got the manager, the people person, you got the details guy, and then you have the entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur, I think you summed up very well by describing yourself and your dad, kind of the big picture, the idea guy, the one who's going to think beyond the box, or step into the dark fog that you don't know what's there, and you're the one who's going to discover it. And so as I am listening to your story, it really describes this entrepreneur attribute that you guys have, and that book came to mind. Have you ever taken the Myers-Briggs personality test or the DISC work style test?
I have done the Briggs, but it might have been back in college, and I don't recall what my results even would have been.
They're interesting tests to take. The Myers-Briggs test is more on the personality. What type of personality do you have? Are you introverted? Are you extroverted? Are you thinking, a feeling type of person? But there's another one called the DISC work style test, and it talks about the strengths and the weaknesses of the person taking the test and how they interact with the other types of work styles. I would recommend that you guys look into it, because you are likely very high on the creativity, the decision making, these classic entrepreneur type work styles. And it's always eye-opening. I always love to learn more about myself, so I love taking these types of tests. But in our company, it's something that I've had our employees take over the years, so that each of us know, okay, David doesn't ever want to talk about details. He just wants big picture. And then, the guy over there, he's going to go figure out the details, and she's going to be the stability person. So anyway, that came to mind, and it's a fun addition to running a company.
Well, we actually, curiously enough, me and my dad went through a little spurt where we were all into taking these personality tests, and we actually took our best employees and we made them take the test.
Yeah.
Then when we had to hire for their position, we gave the applicants the same test.
Right.
And hired based on whose test results were similar for the personality we wanted for that job, and actually had some pretty decent success with it. I don't know why we stopped that, other than we probably just went some type of period of not hiring someone, and then when you go to hire someone again, you kind of don't remember every single thing you do. But it was interesting, and I felt like it was actually pretty accurate, and would consider, if I was a full-time hiring people person, I would be giving those tests for sure.
Yeah. So John, you are in the company running it with your dad, and at some point, I assume he says, "Hey John, I want to retire. How do we exit me out of this?" Or maybe you came to him. What is it like to be in a family business and have the original owner exit out of the company? What was that like for you?
I think I definitely approached him and talked about it and asked him, "Hey, so what are your plans? What do you want to do? Are you going to sell to someone else? How long are you going to work for?" Kind of all those just different questions of maybe what he was doing. And I'm sure I got most of those back as well. They were good conversations. I think we kind of knew we both wanted the same path, which was, him to be able to sell his company and retire, and me to be able to, step into that role and continue the business on. And so we kind of had those conversations, and then as we got going, the company started to grow, and couldn't ever really get a firm answer out of my dad. I kind of told him my stance, and I'm like, well, I'm kind of ready to do my thing. I want to do my thing. And I don't want to work here for 5 years and, then buy a company at a higher price. I kind of want to just go do my own thing right now. And so we decided to go talk to a guy in Provo, business, it's the UU Business Center, but he helped us kind of just sit down, almost like a business coach or business psychiatrist or whatever, and kind of just walked us through, well, what do you want? What do you need? How do you see the business? How do you see, John being able to lead the business? So really just a third party that was able to ask us a lot of those questions. And he walked us through a bunch of different valuations of well, you could look at the company this way, this way, this way, this way. And we eventually, kind of went back and forth where we got onto the same page and figured out a formula where I think it was 3 or 4 years we kind of valued the company, that day, and we said, we think it's worth X, and this is how we valued it, and we're going to value it in 3 years, and whatever the difference is in growth, we will value the business the same way, but the growth from today to those 3 years, whatever that growth is cut in half. I would get half of the growth, and my dad would get half of the growth. And that worked out well for us because he wasn't quite ready to retire, nor probably had the funds or whatever he needed to, and I was ready to go. So it was a way where we came together and compromised and said, all right, well, let's keep growing this thing, and I will be able to step more into a leadership role, but he's still present for 3 years to kind of coach me through it or veto any crazy thing I may have wanted to do, but kind of gave him the reassurance of like, hey, he's running the company and I know what he's doing. I'm here day to day. So now I have confidence in him, and it was nice for me too because I got to start doing what I wanted to do and take it in the direction I wanted to go. And then at the end of the 3 years, we did the valuation and we kind of split it and came up with the sum, and out the door he went.
That's great. So you sought some outside expertise. You saw a mediator, someone who had done this a number of times and tapped into their experience and came up with something that was fair on every end and signed on the dotted line.
Correct. And that was probably, I don't know if we would have got it done, definitely not as cleanly if we hadn't talked to them, because, you get a fresh perspective from them. You actually have to listen to the other side. Feel like you can talk and it has to be heard and someone else can hear, and it helps piece it together. And both of us to kind of be accountable, because it wasn't, hey, I'm pressuring my dad, and he just, kick the can down the road. It kind of both forced us to like, hey, this is our plan, we're going to do it, and we're going to meet next Tuesday at 7.
Yeah.
So it held us accountable, which was a great thing.
Yeah.
So.
That's great. Well, how's the business doing now? Are you guys still growing? Is it a good industry to be in for promotional products?
No. In fact, no one should ever do it. No, it's a fun market. It's one of those markets where anybody can probably do it. We do it because we enjoy interacting with our clients and we get to be creative. But it's been a great industry for the lifestyle I've wanted to live. Over the past 7-8 years, 15 to 25% growth every year. Didn't have to think about it. So business is going really good. The pandemic hits, kind of, we're in a business that's, hey, everybody, let's get together and hey, take the stuff that I just touched when I'm passing out. And, so a lot of aspects of our business are just kind of shut down. So we kind of took our resources where we do a lot of importing from China. We've done a lot of your masks and sanitizers and all that. We've just kind of shipped our partners over there to where we can get that stuff into the country. So the last couple months, we've kind of made up a little bit for the drop off on everything else, kind of just trying to be nimble, selling what we have resources to. So we've been okay. We were in a good position, 50% down the last 2 months, really, since it started. So we'll just see. I think the next couple of months will really determine what we have to do as a company. And I'm hoping it's good things. People just get back to work and, we go up from here. Yeah,
that's great. So John, here's a question for you. If you could go back to 8-9-year-old John and whisper in his ear when he was thinking about becoming a policeman or a fireman or a Batman or whatever it was, what do you think you would tell him about his upcoming schooling and career? Is there something you might say to him?
8 or 9, I would have said, go to your parents, mortgage your house, and bet it all on the Bulls every year for the next 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't. I think maybe the biggest thing for me, which I feel like has come to me naturally and has just been beneficial, is to kind of know what direction you want to go, but you don't have to know exactly how you're going to get there or which boulders you're going to have to climb over. I think so many people just get stopped and so worried about, okay, how am I going to do this and then this and then this and then this and then this, as opposed to just like, hey, you know what? I don't have to figure everything out. I'm just going to move down the trail, and I know if I come on a boulder, I can go around it or this or that. Just have those skill sets to just always keep moving forward in your life, and make sure if you're going in a good direction, don't get caught up in the details, but just get caught up in the knowing how to overcome challenges and figure stuff out in life. Nothing that can stop you when you kind of develop those skills and have a direction you want to go.
Yeah, so developing those skill sets, but then also having a healthy self-esteem, believing in yourself. I mean, it's obvious that you do, because you talk about these boulders, I can just go around them, I can just go over them, I have the skill set to overcome the roadblocks. But not everybody is as confident in themselves as you are. Other people are not born naturally as beautiful or as smart as you are. So some of these skill sets that you're talking about, what are a couple of them that you think are critical for someone to develop in their life?
The ability to learn, the ability to figure things out. We live in a day and age where you can't fool people anymore. My dad used to fool me with all these facts, and you say something to a kid, they Google it, and they know if you tell them the truth, right? But on the flip side, you have unlimited resources at your fingertips. The challenges you come up with every single day, whether it's to fix a flat tire or to fix electrical or whatever it is, those people that can say, I have a problem here, the easiest, best way to do it, I can figure this out, I can do it, and you get it done, right? And so when I'm hiring an employee, if someone is like that, like, hey, I need you to do this, okay, I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. I don't feel like I'm confident in that area, other than just, I guess that's how I feel like that's life, right? We just come up on boulders and we got to figure it out. And so that's a heavy skill set for me. I will take someone that can learn and figure stuff out way over a 4.0 student that got good grades, but if doesn't fit in that box, they're lost.
Yeah. Yeah, so some thinking outside the box, some creativity, probably some curiosity like your dad. So John, what are you reading lately? Any good books or any good audio books on your nightstand that have really impacted you?
Yeah, actually, this last year I was interested in a book called Never Split the Difference. And I told myself, I said, okay, this just seems really interesting, so I'm going to make a commitment that I'm going to listen to this book. It was Audible and 2X. I was going to listen to the book 3 times in a row before I decided I was done with the book. And it's a fascinating, to me, book written by an FBI negotiator that just goes on kind of how he developed all of his negotiation skills and how they're applicable in our lives. And it was so funny to me how many times in your day, by the time you wake up and you negotiate with your wife on what time you can go play golf that day, you negotiate with, employees on pay and what we're going to do, and clients on what you're going to, there's so many negotiations in our life on a daily basis, and to start developing some of those skill sets that you can kind of go out in the real life and immediately in every part of your life kind of help you, to negotiate and communicate better, was fascinating to me. And I feel like it's really helped not only in the business side, but personal side too. So
that's awesome. I read that book a couple years ago, and everyone's talking about it. I think I better go read it again, maybe 3 times in a row, because as I sit here listening to you talk about the book, I don't recall that much from it. I might break it out and give it a read again. It's a good recommendation.
You negotiated well enough to get me on your blog. So.
Yeah, sure did. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If people might have a question about getting some promotional work or negotiating with their dad in the family business, is there somewhere they can reach out to get in touch with you?
Sure. My company is Logo Concepts. My email is Jon @logoconcepts.us. Happy to talk, help, whatever we can, whether that's a piece of advice, a bad joke, dirt on David. Anyone needs it. Happy to talk to anyone I can help.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Jon. I appreciate it.